On this edition of It's Better Together, we recap a conversation from our live Tuesday at 2 with Kendall Nissen. Want your organization to be found on a web search quickly and at the top? Consider a paid search campaign. Paid search uses words and key phrases to help your perfect demographic find you. Pay only when someone clicks on the ad and put a limit on spending to help you manage your budget. Let's meet Kendall.
So Google Ads is probably something that you've seen a lot on your search engine, just a simple search, but you haven't even noticed that it is an ad because they've made it look so blending in with just a normal search query. So I think ads have a really bad name generally, how they're like pester, just annoy you, but they're actually extremely relevant. So what I do is I create ad campaigns for all different kinds of industries, whether it's cars, I have a plastic surgeon, we have a doctor's office, but it works really well for small businesses. So basically, you just say any kind of service that you offer as a keyword. So it's matching up with a search query that you would do, just a typical Google search. So, I mean, even for example, if you just want a Chinese takeout, so you type in Chinese takeout on your Google search on a Sunday night, and an ad will probably pop up to show you the most relevant Chinese takeout near you. But basically, we cater them to all different kinds of companies. So yeah, it gets you on top of the page, and really it makes you compete really, it's kind of more fair because it organically, like the big names, so if you're looking for an academy, they spend a lot of money into their websites, and typically if you're a startup company, it takes some time to build up your website and that. So with Google Ads, you can show at the top of the page where an academy would show or a big name without having maybe the website to match, if that makes sense. Yeah. I didn't know what this was when I first started either. So it is very confusing, but once you get the hang of it, it's really beneficial.
Well, it's funny because you go back and forth from like, okay, I see myself doing the search and you're using the Chinese, restaurant as an example. And then I have some questions, but then I'm thinking as a buyer too. But yeah, with the Chinese restaurant, so if I searched, say, takeout near me, and I see one that comes up on the Google and it says Google ad, right?
It has like a tiny little box now in like a grayed out font that has ad, but it looks the exact same. So we've come a long way. I want to say like 10 years ago, it's like it had a huge blue box around it. And I know me searching, I'd be like, ignore the ad, and scroll. And then you go to like a normal thing. But actually like they're extremely accurate and spot on. So if it is popping up on the top of the page, it's worth a click.
And kind of tell us more about that. Why, like, change the paradigm from like avoiding somebody selling to you while you want to avoid it. Now you're like, no, it is worth the click.
I would say just because, someone's making that and they're spending money to show you that ad. So they're not going to waste money on something that's irrelevant to your search query. So they're making it as accurate as possible. They're choosing the geolocation so that it is near you. Because sometimes in an organic search, it's just picking up what's on the website. These are not just coding on a website. This is actually someone picking what they pay to show you. So if you're paying for someone to see your ad and you want that service or you want that customer, you're not going to show them something that you think, why would you want to show to someone that wouldn't be interested in your product?
That's a good point. And do you feel like how many keywords do you have to give to make it that relevant for somebody's search? Does it match like 2 words, 10 words?
It really just depends. So I think be as specific as possible, and there's different match types. So I don't want to go too much in the weeds, but it used to be where you could put, let's say, plastic surgeon, and it would be like broad match. So someone could just type in, pet surgeon, and it would be like, oh, that's similar to your keyword. And it's like, not at all. It's like completely different. Now they upgraded it so that you can literally put exact match. So if someone types in plastic surgeon, you will only show if someone types in plastic surgeon. Or now they have phrase, so if someone puts plastic surgeon near me, you can still show for that keyword, but it has to have plastic surgeon. So it's like very specific now.
Mm-hmm. And how do you work with clients? Like, do a lot of clients know what size clients do you work with? Is there like a certain company size that you work with, or is there a minimum?
So we have different tiers at my company, but it ranges. We have some that are spending like $200 a month, and it goes all the way up to, we have one spending like $150,000 a month. So if you have more budget, you can do more keywords, but I would say if you're starting small, you're a startup, pick 10 words that you want to show for. So basically, if for this, I would do, women entrepreneurship group exact match, or, very specific keywords that you want to show for. This one you can kind of do nationwide, but if you're starting with a smaller budget, if you want to actually meet in person with them, maybe do a radius around Allison, where she's in a radius around where you live too. So, the more budget you have, you can kind of spread the wings, but you don't want to do it too big of a geo with a small budget, because it'll just run out so quickly.
Yeah. So that's really where a lot of the cost is depending on how broad your range is.
And it gets more competitive too. So I'm sure all over the United States, there's probably 600 of these groups, but if you narrow out you're only competing with maybe 20 compared to the 600.
Right. Okay. So let's assume many of us on the call, including Allison and me, we may be interested in doing something like that, Google Ads. So like never really spent we don't spend money on social media. Like we don't buy, I guess you can buy likes or you buy boosts or whatever. Like where would you begin just to know, is this right for us? Or any entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I would say if you're trying to grow your business, whether you're trying to sell something, whether you're trying to grow your group, it's really awareness. So if you're looking for awareness, I think that's number one, what this can bring to you. Also, if, just the growth and awareness piece is where I would start. So it's really going to give you exposure. For y'all, you're not technically, sometimes we do shopping ones, so people are like selling personal items on there. And I think it's good for that too. But for this, you can be so specific to get an exact, someone who's interested on the Tuesday and 2, and they would click, and it could be someone that would never even know you existed. They don't have any of mutual friends. They don't have you on Facebook, but just doing a simple search, and then you pop up at the top of the page.
And do we get to see who clicked it, or it's just the fact that we know somebody's going? I guess we would capture it from our website.
Yeah, well, in the actual platform where you run the ads, it'll give you number of clicks, number of impressions. So that's how many times your ad was shown but not clicked. You can set up different conversion points. So for y'all, it'd probably be, you could set up something on your website that you can tell if they signed up for your email subscription or if they RSVP'd to that. So you can kind of see what keywords are performing the best in that sense, but it won't tell you exactly who it is just because of Google privacy laws. But if they do sign up and you can like match it back to the click, then you can kind of like work around that and see.
So is it a pay per click or is it a pay per impression?
Pay per click. That's what I like so much. So if it's not even relevant to someone, they won't click, it doesn't cost you money. If, especially if the program is so specific to what you do, if someone is clicking, you hope it's that spot on customer. So it's not a waste of money there.
That's really very interesting because you still get exposure. Even though they're not clicking, they see what's there. So, because I've done that, you type in searches and something keeps coming back and you're like, well, no, that is interesting. So,
and then it's like, oh, I've seen that somewhere. And then it kind of makes you even more interested because you keep seeing it. A couple years ago, people had they didn't want to do branded keywords. So for y'all, it'd be Revel Coach, and you would have that in the program. And if someone searched that, you're paying to be top of page. And some people were like, well, I don't want to, you usually show organically top of the page. But again, it kind of goes to show that if someone's searching for, your company, and then you have, for example, if you're a smaller sporting goods company, and Academy already has the best organic, you want to pay for your name. So you're double sure that you're showing the top of the page, even though you're not that big name. And I think, like I said, I think it works better for small businesses because it's that awareness piece. People don't know you. You need to put your name out there so people know who you are. I used to do more like industrial type clients. So it was like micro photoing. I didn't even know what that was when I first started, but it's like etching on glass. And it's like this mom and pop shop in Detroit. They had a $500 budget. And I was like, okay, well, like put your name out there, whatever. They were like, we maybe get one order a month. And they're like, but this is just kind of our hobby. And so we just like put in the keywords. I obviously had to have several meetings with these guys because I was like, I don't even know what this is. I want to make sure the keywords match to what y'all do exactly. The ads are relevant to what you do. And they ended up getting a contract with Apple.
Are you serious?
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's proof to me. Like the mom and pop shops, the startups, like that's how you get your name out there.
Wow.
Apple would
What
have
gave me
never.
chills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I need some of the commission from this.
Yeah, right. Don't forget about me.
Yeah.
Can I at least get some free AirPods or something?
Yeah, it was so funny because they had to be, I don't even know. They're retired. They're like, we just do it in our garage. Like, it's just something we've always liked doing. And now they got like $1 million contract with Apple.
That's awesome. So are there different, like, so I know you're with the company Ad Taxi, and I would assume there's probably lots of companies like yours, I guess, around the world, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
are your competitors everywhere?
Yep. It's
So,
like blown up in the past few years, like agencies just popping up everywhere.
so obviously everyone on this call will want to work with you, Kendall. We'll make sure they get the information. But like, what's the difference between your competitors? Is it relatively the same?
Yeah, it's relatively the same. Some have like different package deals. So we're actually like, I would say the agency is more for bigger companies because they will require you to do like a social and like a paid search package deal. If you're doing a startup, you know, there's a lot of management fees that come into that. But also, I mean, if you're a big company, you want a lot of like a team like we provide. But if you're a startup, I probably wouldn't go to an agency because you're going to have the management fees that you have to pay, a lot more people in the weeds. But when it's more of a startup, you're going to want to find like a more smaller segmented.
Right. That makes sense. All right. So let's just go back to, say it's an entrepreneur and you're new, say it's a coaching practice and you're trying to find new clients. So you decide your space, whatever that niche may be. We would meet with you and we say, okay, we just want to experiment. We want to see if it does anything, and say it's a pretty small budget. Like most solopreneurs, maybe they could do $200, not like you're. So they do $200 budget. Like, how long, if you're going to experiment with something, do you kind of run that at least 3 months and you're kind of changing the algorithm? So you're like, emotionally, you're saying, I got to spend at least $500 to see if this works.
Yeah, I mean, it's really up to the person. I mean, I would say a 3-week test. You want to start the program, and it kind of, Google takes a little bit to like get it started up. But for example, you can be so specific that you can cancel out male completely and you can only target women. So I would start like as specific as possible, let it run for 3 weeks, and then I can go in and start optimizing. Like, I see that this keyword has spent this much money, but you're telling me that you have no signups on your website. So that's a sign to me, I'm pausing that keyword. We don't want to pay for that keyword. And then you kind of play around from there.
Choose keywords.
Basically, I'm sure y'all did this when y'all were deciding what you were going to do with Revel Coach. You know, what are we? That's one question you ask yourself. And who do you want to find you? Those are the two main things. So like I said, just be as specific as possible. Sometimes you're so specific that you have no clicks, and it's like, that's not a bad thing. You know, you just have to slowly, little by little, kind of like open the net a little, but I'd be as specific as possible.
So we'd love to encourage anybody else that is on the call, has some questions. You can feel free to use the chat, and we can ask your questions on your behalf, because I find this stuff fascinating. So changing gears just slightly. You know how they say Google's like listening to us, and
Yeah.
you're waiting for Hey Alexa or whichever one it is. And then if you're talking about something,
Don't wake her up.
advertisements will come in. You know, like if I start talking about diapers right now, we don't have any babies in the family. If I start talking about diapers, next thing you know, like an ad could come for diapers. What's the truth to that? Like, what's your opinion on what we do?
So I create those. It's called remarketing ads. So what's kind of funny too, let me backtrack, is over the past 2 years, now we're adding in keywords that are more voice. So some of our keywords we will add in, like Siri.
Okay.
Hey Siri, where's my Chinese place? And it's like, that's like we're doing more voice activated rather than just typing now.
But that's because somebody activated the search.
Yeah.
Not just eavesdropping.
So sometimes when you can because you can pull reports and see all the search queries that triggered your ad, and you'll see a lot of times like Siri, Alexa, like all this stuff in there. And sometimes you'll get like a really long one, and it's like someone's talking to like their husband or something, and at the very end it has your keyword, and it's like, okay.
Oh, that's kind of creepy though.
Yeah. But what's causing it to retarget you is basically like your cookies or like your history on your computer. So now that there's so many voice activated things, it's kind of linked to your internet. That's why you think it's like listening to you, but really it's the same thing as if you like did a search. But I think it's funny though, because like I'll be looking up like Vail Airbnb. And then I'll be like listening to music and I'll be like, are you looking for a Vail Airbnb? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, but that's how it does. It's like a trail. So if you're really like worried about that, on websites, you can do like block cookies or clear your history ever so often. And that should like cut the ads until you do the next search and then keeps going.
That's good. Well, I'm just going to start talking about the winning lottery ticket.
Where is the winning ticket?
So Karen had just typed in, I believe the keywords cost depend on the popularity of the particular keyword. Is that correct?
Yes. So you'll see, I think, this could have changed in the past couple months with COVID, but our most expensive industry is law firms. So just for whatever reason, they're extremely competitive. And that's why in those specific situations, like they'll try to do a $500 budget and we're like, you'll probably get like 3 clicks. That's how expensive it is. But the more specific you are, the less it'll cost. So, or the more it'll cost in some cases too, but there are specific industries and specific keywords that are very competitive. But you can set a bid yourself. So I don't want to pay more than $3 for this keyword. You can do that. And if it costs way more than that, you probably just won't show for that keyword. So it's not going to automatically be like $200 for that.
So you can specify which keywords you want to use and you can put a cap to it.
Yep.
That's very
Be
interesting.
careful though, because Google's like automating a lot of things, and the set like bidding strategy for your keywords is now an automated one. So that's potentially where you could get a bad situation where it'll be like $200 and it thinks it's worth $200. But there's still manual options in there, thankfully, where you can do, okay, I don't want to pay more than $3 for this click.
Mm-hmm. And so like, it's really not something you can do it yourself, right? You have to have a company like yours that has the technology for the algorithms.
No, you can create your own Google Ads account. It'll probably link to your Gmail, and it'll just live there. You create it. I'm sure there's like videos and tutorials online that you can learn, but I would just say be very careful. It's just like running Facebook ads. It's very easy to spend more than you're willing to, and it just like happens within a blink of an eye. But yeah, you don't need an agency to have a Google Ads account.
Okay. Well, we like keeping everything in the family. So since you're a niece, we're going to stay with Ad Taxi and Kendall.
Yeah, it used to be called Google AdWords. They rebranded those, so now it's just Google Ads. So maybe some people on the call have heard of AdWords.
Kendall is just, you've switched titles and now you are the search operations manager. So what are the different details from what you were doing, which was literally working with clients, creating the keywords and the ads? And now what is a little bit different?
Now I handle when a sales rep or a client isn't happy with a certain account. It's basically my wheelhouse. But right now it's actually interesting. We're doing a project how to automate the smaller builds so that we can handle more of them. So we don't want to do Google's automation. Like I said, they're trying to handle everything on their own, but we're trying to make it a process on our end how we can do the builds a lot quicker. When you choose the keywords, when you write the ad, is basically a build. But they're adding features where this might get confusing, but you don't choose keywords anymore. They kind of just read your site, which is something we can do for your clients that have a really good site that has like a very clean back end coding. Because Google will just like crawl the site, read the back end, and then choose its own keywords. And then we can go in and say, no, we don't want to show for that keyword, and like kind of pick of us writing them all out. And they had started this a couple weeks ago, and I guess they had the client, it was like a big auto dealership in LA. They had hidden a few pages that we couldn't see on the website. So we were like, oh, their website's great. It's perfect for DSA, dynamic search ads. And they had hidden these pages that Google was still reading. So it like turned into this huge fire drill because the pages were from like 2015. So Google was just like picking that page and saying, 2015 specials on Toyota Camrys. And the client's like, what is going on? So that was a whole ordeal. Like I said, that they still have a lot of work on their end with these automated things that they say that they can push us to do. But that was really bad. So don't want to do that. I think the manual is the very best thing, and there's tons of guides and filters there. I'd just be as specific as well. You can see people's salaries now. So if you want to target the top 10% of the United States, women, now they have audiences where you can choose someone's like career and it'll target them. So As specific as possible is what I recommend.
That's awesome.
Is there a percentage fee structure? Is it per click? I mean, is it like just the keywords that come up and then the number of clicks that are attached to those keywords for the pricing?
It's kind of like an auction. So if you're paying for ads and so is this competitor that does the same thing as you, say we have women's leadership group, we're willing to pay $3 for that, and the competitor is willing to pay $3.05. They're going to get the top position because they have that higher bid in there.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So, okay. But if they're at $3 too, it could be. It just depends. They'll decide who has the better like ad copy. They'll give you a better quality score, and that's kind of how it'll do it there. So it is judging on how relevant it is too, and you can see those things. Like if it says your ad relevancy doesn't match your landing page or the keywords you're targeting, you'll get ranked a little bit lower until you update it and be like, okay, this matches a little bit better. So you want the ad to resemble what y'all do, but also the keywords. You can't just have a keyword that's like men's weightlifting group and then your ad says like women's leadership group. It'll be like, no, this isn't, your website doesn't even say this. This doesn't make sense.
That's funny. So with some people that are on this call, and I know there are some curiosities, so say they're selling a product, so jewelry or handbags, but it's a small business, small startup, and they might do it like they could customize it for, we're in Florida, so it could be like University of Florida, and they could do like, you know, their
cute, yeah,
all that stuff. So if they wanted to experiment with trying to target college kids on campus or the moms of college kids, and the budget say small, $200, $300 for the month or to experiment, do you think that's something, is that too small of a budget? Is that something you'd be like, oh, no, that's good to try and we could figure something like that out? Like, talk to me like what that sounds like to you.
I mean, I don't think any budget is too little. We will have to see. I'm not sure exactly what the industry's like cost per click for that like custom bag industry, but I can't imagine it would be more than like $7 a click. So you have $200, definitely worth doing the test. Like I said, I would just be as specific as possible so you don't just like run through your budget. If you were to just have purses as a keyword, you would spend that in like 1 minute. And it would be like weird searches that aren't relevant. So if you do custom university bags or custom University of Florida purses, and then you set your radius around the college, you could even have a customized, like you could have one campaign that targets the students and try that out, and then another one that targets maybe the parents. So the differentiators in that would be the age, because you can customize the age, and then maybe not living on campus. So you choose a different geolocation. So you can see maybe, and that's how you can kind of tell like, okay, students like my bags a little bit more than the parents, or the parents have more money, so they're buying more bags than these students are, or maybe they're getting them as Christmas presents, you know, and test it like that. But definitely worth testing. I mean, that's a great idea, especially if you know the area that you can target. Yeah, I think it's great.
It's almost market research too. Like you can kind of figure out like if you're, you know, starting something to say like, okay, where does it work? And so you said something that seemed pretty normal for you to say. It was like, you said like, I think it's going to cost about $7 a click. So you actually, before you run the ad, you can kind of estimate what it might cost per click. Yes. So then you can say, if I have $700, it'll be 100 clicks.
Yep. Basically, yeah. I know with, like I said, I don't know Florida, but I've ran like an apparel campaign. It was like shoes and accessories. And I would say it ranged from either $1.88 all the way to $6, just depending what the keyword was. But I will say if you're doing like customized bag and you already have the university or, you know, whatever their mascot is, maybe, that's pretty specific. I think you can drop the cost per click pretty low. And then like I said, if you're not getting traffic, then maybe add in a little bit more broad ones. But no, that sounds like an account that I could set up right now. And like, I'm interested to see if like the students would be better or the parents. I'm thinking the parents though, that's my go-to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the kids are fairly broke.
Yeah. Or they could be researching clicking and you might not see the conversion, but then maybe, you know, they're screenshotting on their phone, sending it to the parents. And then it's like, they go directly to your website. So it might not be, you might not see the attribution to the paid search campaign, but it's still working, you know, a little funnel that way.
You had mentioned that the algorithm is now starting to mine your web pages. How do you optimize your web pages to match your Google ads?
So that goes into organic, so like SEO, and that's kind of like what we walk through. So you're going to want your headlines. So what I do, I have no control over the client's website. All I can tell them is, Google saying your landing page experience is poor. And there's not really much I can do, because if it tells me my ad relevancy is a 10 out of 10, it's good. But the landing page experience is a 1 out of 10. I can't really do anything in my program, but I can tell them, your landing experience is not good. It doesn't think it's relevant to the ads, but you told me my ads are relevant. So you definitely want to update your website so that's relevant to the client. Because a lot of times people will click the ad and it's like spot on to what they do. But if you have a bad website and it's like, what is this? This is not what I thought it would be, which happens a lot, especially with like plumbers. Like there's no like form fill, there's no call. I'm like, how do you expect these people to reach out to you? There's no point in that. If you can't get the customer to reach out to you on your website, then you should wait on ads, because there's nothing really they can do once they get to your website.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
You get to the website, you're like,
and they're like, what? My website's fine. I'm like, okay. I was like, maybe the brand awareness. Yes, that's helping. But how are they supposed to reach out to you? I'm like, it blows my mind when there's not a phone number on a service company like that.
Yeah, especially a plumber.
Yeah.
You kind of need them right away. You don't want to search.
Yeah.
That's how you're calling a plumber.
Exactly.
And they spend $7 for you to click, and then they call someone else.
I know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a waste of money. Oh, and the worst is when a client is like, oh, I see my ad. And they like click, they're like, but you're landing us on the wrong landing page. And I was like, okay, what you just told me is you clicked on our ad. So you just paid out of your own pocket to click on the ad. I was like, do not do that. Stop. And another thing is when you are like, so if you do decide to set up a campaign or whatever, you start running the ads and you're doing searches to see if your ad's showing, but you're not clicking because you shouldn't be clicking. Eventually Google will be like, okay, this is not relevant to this customer. So it will stop showing you your ad, because a lot of times clients are like, my ad's not showing. Like, well, it probably figured that you don't think the ad's relevant because you haven't clicked on it at all, which is good, but that's why it's not showing.
That's got to be confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when they're just like not tech savvy to begin with. And I'm like, I promise you it's still showing. We have numbers here, impressions are here, clicks are here. It's showing, I promise.
To watch a live Tuesday at 2 program with Revel Coach, visit us at revelcoach.com. Until next time.